bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum rum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-da ba-ba-dum. Hello, my friends. Hi, everyone. Mighties and friends. Hi, Bob and Deb. Howdy, teach, says Neely. So great to see everyone. Oh my gosh, it is so cold tonight. Holy cow, I'm going to bundle up. I got my blanket on, my lap. I've got my shawl on. It is so cold. Hi, friends. Good evening. It's Monday night, and it's 8 o'clock. And yes, Merry Christmas to all of my friends. Hello from snowy Toronto, says Alice. Yes, it's great to see you all. Monday night, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and we do one thing and one thing only, and that is I teach you homeopathy, and you share information, and I love it. I love that you help each other. I like that you intersect with me, so to speak, communicate with me, give me answers. I like to test you and see how you're doing and your knowledge. And for those of you who are new, good evening. But those of you who have been with me forever, good evening, my friends. So we're going to go to about 8:20 or so, and then I'm going to switch over to Mighties, because we're on I try to give a little extra to my Joette's Mighty members, and if you're interested in knowing on how to do that, you could just go to Joette's Learning Center and scroll down and go right to Joette's Mighty members and become a member so that you can get a little more involved, become a little more involved in what we do here. We're on Facebook, my friends, and Rumble, and YouTube, and Instagram, and I ask you to please like and subscribe and share and do all of the things that you know would help get this message out. What's the message? The message is that practical homeopathy, this particular kind of homeopathy, is not always the answer. We still sometimes, if we have complicated cases or in-depth cases, then we may indeed need to go further and repertorize and go deeper. But with practical homeopathy, so much can be done on your own at home so that it can relieve the angst and fulfill the need to be able to take care of yourself, your family, your pets, your livestock, your neighbors, etc. That's what I want for you. I want you to know enough homeopathy so that in your home you own a good number of homeopathic medicines, not only intellectually, not only own them in knowledge, but also own them physically in the bottles that you have in your cabinet. And so, yes, Merry Christmas. Hello, all. Ho, 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 says Pat. Great to see you all. Yeah, it's even chilly in Florida, isn't it? Oh, thanks for saying hi, Noreen. It wouldn't be Monday without Joette. Well, Noreen, it's nice to have you here. I feel the same way about you. You're always there. It's so great to see all my friends here. It's so wonderful. All right. Jim says, has anyone else read The Impossible Cure? Yeah, it's an old book, and it's very true. That mom who became a homeopath cured her child of autism. Yeah, but that's, my friends, as much as I love to hear these stories and I want you to know about them, my friends, it's common. We do it all the time in homeopathy. We can overturn these diagnoses that we're told are impossible to cure. When we hear the word impossible to cure, not always, certainly, there's extreme scoliosis. There are certain conditions that absolutely, I'm trying to think of some others off the top of my head. But cancer has been treated successfully by the Banerjees in Calcutta and their cohorts. And many of you have treated pneumonia without antibiotics. And so, my friends, we could keep going with all of the conditions, rheumatoid arthritis. We're told, no, there's no cure for that. Yes, homeopathy has been shown in many situations. Not everyone. This is not a magic wand. There's nothing magical about it. What it is solid, useful, reproducible medicine that can be applied. And if it's applied properly, correctly, it can be gobsmacking. And so, my friends, good evening. Tonight we're going to talk about how do you get through the holidays? How do you get through Christmas and then into New Year's without getting sick? And there's many ways of getting sick, and a lot of it has to do with overindulgence. And so I know many of you are going to know all about it. I'm going to take a sip of water, if you excuse me for a moment. Okay. Let's see how everyone's coming in. It's great to see you all. So, I'm going to tell you my own personal story. The other night, my husband and I were supposed to meet some friends, and we were going to go out and have dinner. And I'd worked all day. Well, today is Monday, so I think it was Friday or Saturday. It was Friday. I think it was Friday. And we're all ready to. Okay, so I finished in my office, and I was headed up the stairs to get dressed for going out. And I got to the top of the stairs, and suddenly, did you hear my word? Suddenly, my descriptor, suddenly I didn't feel well. It felt like, uh-oh, I know this feeling. I'm coming down with something. Now, I have to tell you, friends, I haven't come down with something, so to speak. Haven't felt like that since 2019. So it's been almost 5 years. You bet. Pat from Grand Rapids, Michigan says aconitum. Neely says aconitum. Pat in Kansas says aconitum. Suddenly, I didn't feel well. I couldn't really put my finger on it. It just felt like I should be in bed. I thought about, well, maybe if I take a bath with some Epsom salts and maybe some raw vinegar thrown in the water and make myself a hot toddy of sorts. Something warm with some, maybe bone stock or something, and start sipping that. Maybe I'd feel well enough. Kathy says, yeah, aconitum. Amy, aconitum. Yep. Glenn says aconitum. Francine says aconitum. You guys are so good. I thought, well, maybe I just take a bath. Now, as you know, my friends, a lot of times, when we don't feel well, we can't think. And that is kind of what happened to me. Because I was thinking, have I overdone the work? Maybe I do need Nux vomica if I've been working too hard. And no, I'm not working. I have a very good pace with my work, especially lately. It hasn't always been that way, but the last couple of years, I've got a nice pace going. I don't know. I've not been up. I don't drink alcohol. I mean, I'll take a sip from someone's drink once in a while to taste something, but I don't drink. I don't think I've overeaten. I don't know. But I needed to clear my head to think it through. So I started the bath, put in the Epsom salts, and it hit me. Oh, for crying out loud, Joe. Take aconitum. So I did. I took aconitum 200. Now, I could have taken it with bryonia because aconitum and bryonia are great for the chest. Mixed together, aconitum 200, bryonia 30. I've also used it, aconitum 200, bryonia 200, which is actually kind of a mistake, but it actually has worked in the long run. But I took only aconitum 200. And I started to fill the bath, and that while I was waiting for the bath to fill, I laid down on the bed, and within, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I said, I'm well. I'm okay. I mean, really, I'm okay. I don't feel sick anymore. Now, meanwhile, my husband had made arrangements with our friends to just go to dinner with him. And my girlfriend couldn't get out of her driveway because of all the snow. So she said, well, all right, then in that case, Joan, if you don't feel well, I'm staying home. I don't want to deal with that snow. So the two men went out to dinner. My husband had just left. And I swear I could have even asked him to turn the car around, come back and get me. I didn't do that. But I just spent the rest of the night in a nice hot bath with Epsom salts, some bone stock, kind of I kind of put a mixture together with lemon juice and all. And my friends, that was it. That was it. So that was Friday night. Today's Monday. I've not needed another dose. Now, let me tell you the upside of this. The upside, obviously, is that I was well within, half an hour of taking it, 20 minutes, something like that. The downside is my telling you this story. Because when I tell you these stories, then it might, for those of you who are new to homeopathy, might get the misconception that this is the way homeopathy always works, but it's not. It works like this for an acute, often. And it works like this for an acute when you hit upon it right away, and it's something such as what I'm describing, and you use Aconitum. So this will not necessarily work like this in other conditions or in other situations. So I love to share those that are really unique and are noteworthy and memorable stories so that it helps you remember that Aconitum is suddenly I didn't feel well. That sudden business is really important when we're choosing Aconitum, which is why so many of you got Aconitum correct, that you got the medicine correct. And so for those of you who are new, I'm going to remind you that when you're going to use Aconitum, sometimes known as aconite, that you want to read up on that. It's an excellent medicine for exactly this situation. Now, I don't leave home without Aconitum, not just for colds, because I just don't get them. Cold, flu, whatever it was, cleansing, whatever we want to call it, I keep it in my purse at all times because suddenly you could be driving along and you get T-boned. Or you could be just fine walking and then you slip on the ice and suddenly you've broke a bone. That's Aconitum. So anytime something goes from life is just fine and then bam, you're hit with something, I want you to think of Aconitum, and 200 is my best choice. So that's Aconitum, and I want you to remember that because Aconitum, the need for it, this season is often when the cold wind hits. I wasn't in the cold wind. I'd been in all day. But when cold wind hits you and then you feel sick, I'm afraid I don't believe that the virus is coming and getting, and then bam, the virus gets into your nostrils and then you're half dead. No, I think it's the shift from one temperature to another. You're warm, you go outside, you get a shock of cold air, and it changes it, flips something in the system, and then the person doesn't feel well. Yeah, phone a friend. Yeah, lifeline. When you can't think, says Melissa, you're absolutely correct. Yes, that's absolutely so. Okay, so that's the first medicine. The next one is something that I actually thought of that night, was Arnica. Arnica, Montana. I love Arnica, Montana for a place that not very many people use it in this way. I learned this from my dear friend Joe DeLavera, Joepathy. He takes Arnica, Montana 30 in water every single day, and he's been doing so for a quarter of a century. I think maybe even longer than that. Maybe it's 40 years. I don't know that it's only 25. I think it's about 40 years. And he's now a ripe age of 95 and still doing well. So I think of Arnica for myself when I am overworked, when I feel weakened, when I feel like I've lost my get up and go. There's nothing, it's not that I'm sick, really. It's just I'm not quite there. Or for jet lag. Or if I stay up too late. Or if I end up being able to not be able to sleep. I think of Arnica. And so Arnica can be very useful at this time of year because there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of travel. So when somebody's traveling and they're just dragging, life just feels like you're pushing through molasses. I think of Arnica 30. And yes, I like the way Joepathy does it. He puts it in a liter or so of water, lets it dissolve, the pills, or in liquid. He buys it in liquid and puts it in the water and then waits for it to dissolve, shakes it a few times, and takes a tablespoon or so as a dose. Beautiful. Next, medicine. And I want to know what you think too, my friends. I like... of course, we're going to think of Nux vomica because Nux vomica is overuse, overdoing. What is it overdoing? It's overindulging. Too much alcohol, too much food that you're not accustomed to. Sleep is staying up way too late. Too much to get done in the head, not being able to sleep. Similar to Arnica in some ways, but really Nux vomica is an overindulgence, a person who is in general overindulgent, not just a moment in time, but general overindulgent. Nux vomica, great for constipation, great for eating foods that are really too much of the wrong kinds of foods. Love it, Nux vomica. When it's constipation, I use it in a 30. When it's not, and it's something that's what I've just described, and constipation's not included, then I use a 200. Those of you who've been following me know all of this. These are really just reminders. For those of you who are new, I'm glad to be able to give you this information. Next remedy. This remedy works for me frequently. And the reason is because I overdo it, not in a Nux vomica way, but I feel very strongly about the importance of eating animal fats. I think it's very important. And I also find that it helps me maintain my weight if I can eat more animal fats. So if I find that I'm hungry, I will often make some, get some bone stock out of the freezer that I've made, and I'll put in a big wallop of butter, or sometimes I put in even some duck fat. And the fats make me nauseous if I overdo it. Now, it's not that fats generally make me nauseous, because I eat a lot of fat every day. But if I overdo it by making that drink too rich, in addition to the eggs that I fried in butter or bacon fat that morning, I find that the thing that I need is Ipecac, because the nausea comes hard and strong. I've actually talked about it here, I believe. I get very nauseous, and it's ipecacuanha is the full word, but Ipecac is the shortened version, and I always use it in the 30. And that serves me in the same way that Aconitum served me the other night, and that is, it is so fast. It works within 15 minutes. I could be as green as can be, and in 15 minutes, it's over with. So it really is of my own making, because I overdo it. And I always think, well, a little fat's good. A lot of fat is even better, which is not necessarily so. Let's see if there are any questions. I have found sometimes Rhus-Tox helps if Nux doesn't, and sometimes Ipecac. Rhus-Tox is a great medicine for aches and pains that come on with this seasonal stuff when you're feeling sick. Like if aconite didn't act and I started to get achy everywhere and my joints and everything's tender and all, I would be thinking of Rhus-Tox. It's a great one. It's a very, very good one. Let me take another sip of my water, if you don't mind, while I read some of your comments and messages. Okay. Yeah, Jim says, great Christmas gift to give oscillococcinum. I give it to my employees. Yeah, it's a very good idea. Oscillococcinum, or oscillococcinum, depending on how you pronounce it, made by Boron. I don't have it here. I've got it in my cabinet, but it's a very good medicine to have on hand, for especially if we've been exposed to cold, wet. Doesn't have to be, but generally it's cold and wet. And the way you remember that, it's made from the liver and heart of a water duck. Well, ducks are water animals. So waterfowl, I should say. And it's specific for, and that's the way, it's a good way to remember, because you imagine waterfowl in this cold weather and hanging around the water, etc. Okay, let's see what else we've got here. What about Ipecac for not being able to stop vomiting when sick, because body rejects anything in it? Yes, Ipecac could be very good for that. You bet it can. It's not just nausea, my friends. Ipecac is great for nausea and vomiting. Now, when I have taken it, I've not gotten to the point of vomiting, because it just didn't go that far, because I took an Ipecac so quickly. But yes, same thing. Now, let me also mention, I love pulsatilla for when we eat foods that we're not accustomed to eating. We go to a restaurant, I don't, well, we were going out to dinner the other night. I never made it, as I said, but I'm very fussy in restaurants. I don't like whipped butter, because I don't believe it's butter. Might have some butter in it, but I think it's whipped with something else. I don't eat the bread. I don't eat the salads, because I don't like their oils. I'll eat some shrimp. I'll eat boiled shrimp. I'll have some kind of beef. that's maybe if it's braised, I figure that they're braising it in some kind of oil, perhaps to start it. But or I'll have a steak, or I'll have a burger. You have to even be careful with burgers because they put in oils when they mix the meat together for burgers. But in the higher end restaurants, they're likely. I've talked to a number of the chefs in these places. I'm such a nuisance. Isn't that such a nuisance? But if I want to get out with my friends, that's what I do. So let's say I eat something, though, I'm not accustomed to eating. Or I have ice cream or gelato. Or I have something that is not really in my general diet. Let's say it's something, deep fried. I never eat deep fried foods unless I've done it myself, and even that's pretty rare. I don't eat those things. And so if I were to do so, and I felt sickly afterwards. Now, if it's not nausea, I'm going right to Ipecac, because that's what acts for me and likely will act for you as well. But if I feel sick in another way, my stomach, it's queasy, something's off, maybe not queasy, just feels something's off, maybe bloated or pressure or pain or anything like that, then I think of pulsatilla. So think of pulsatilla, my friends, as a medicine that we use for restaurant foods. Ailments from restaurant foods. Think of it that way. Ailments from ice cream. I love gelato. I love ice cream. But if I had too much of it, I might be uncomfortable if it's not good quality. Now, I often find that pulsatilla works. I don't use pulsatilla very often myself. I don't need it. But the one or two times that I have used it, it's been when I've eaten ice cream that has, that ice cream when you read 50 ingredients on the outside of the package. You find out later that they call it homemade ice cream in stores. They actually call it that. And then you find out, no, they're just adding flavors to a base of vanilla ice cream. And then you find out what the ingredients are. So that's when I have used pulsatilla, and it's been great. Acid reflux. My friends, tell us, what's the medicine for acid reflux that you should have in your purse if you're prone to it? Let's see what people are saying. Acid reflux. Indigestion, acid reflux, GERD. 3 words for the same thing. Let's see if anyone comes. I know you're going to come up with it because you folks know. Thank you very much, Pamela. Neely, thank you. Nat Phos. Natrum phosphoricum. Nat Phos, 6X. If that doesn't act, then we go to a 30, but 6X almost always works. Nat Phos, says Noreen. And Susie says Magphos. I like Magphos too, but I start with Nat Phos. Iris versicolor, says Leslie. You're right. Iris is a very good medicine for indigestion, for reflux. Start, my friends, though, with Nat Phos as your acute medicine. Keep that in the car. Keep it in your purse if anyone in your family is prone to it. Natrum phosphoricum or Nat Phos, same thing, as 6X. But if someone has GERD, where it's constantly happening, or it's regularly happening, and it's day to day, day in, day out, regardless of whether they eat at home, whether they eat good food, bad food, ultra-pasteurized, raw, dairy, it doesn't. If that person suffers from that, that's when I consider Iris Ver. Iris versicolor. Or Iris Ver. Absolutely. Iris is for chronic, says Pat. Yes. Yep. There we go. Yeah. Nat Phos 6. Carbovegetablus is a good medicine for when there is severe bloating. I mean, the belly is so tympanic. It's so pushed out that it feels like it's incarcerated gas that will never come out, and it's the person's belly looks like a drum, of a round, tight drum. Yes, Bernie says, Nat Phos 6X works within 5 minutes every time for me, and I have it pretty bad. Yeah. And here's the thing. If we find that Nat Phos works for the acutes and it takes care of it, that might be the end of it. You may not have to use anything else. But if Nat Phos stops acting after a while, then you might want to consider going to something a little different, which is Iris Ver, or if if the belly's very bloated, then Carbovegetablus. Lycopodium for very bloated as well. You're absolutely right. And then we use 200 lycopodium. We don't use it in a 30 when it's a belly bloat. All right, if I'm covering all of the questions, Iris Ver 30 is a good potency. Nat Phos works in minutes. Let's see what else we've got. I think I've covered the potencies. You use it every 15 minutes, and then for example, when I needed that aconitum, I could have taken it every 15 minutes, but I didn't need to. It took one dose, and I was fine. I got up and read. My husband came home, and it was a regular evening for us. It was really very nice. Would pulsatilla 6 work if I took it before the iffy food? Alice, you've been with me long enough, so my guess is you understand this. So I'm going to say this. If you know that you're going to suffer, and you often do indeed suffer from these iffy foods, then I'm going to say yes. But I always worry about telling people or urging people to take these medicines prophylactically if they're thinking, well, you never know. That's not the way I want you to use it. It's not for, well, you never know. It's because you know you're going to need it. And so you're heading it off at the pass. And the reason that I'm pulling that apart is because there are some people, when they first come into homeopathy, who think homeopathy is vitamins or supplements or nutrients. And then they're thinking, well, it's like vitamin C. You just take it just in case. You take vitamin C because it's winter. Take vitamin D for the rest of your life. It's just in case. That's not the way this works, because it is medicine. We're going to be much more tight in our decision. We're going to edit down our decision making. And so my guess is, Alice, you know this, but it's a good opportunity for me to explain to others. Gelato is great in Sicily. Boy, you got that right. I love gelato. I love Sicily. Roost Tox. Okay. I think I got almost everybody. Where do you purchase liquid remedies? You can purchase them from OHM Pharma and from Helios. Low humidity in the closed-up heated home causes issues. Plus, when high humidity, when you go out, the sudden change can send people into orbit. You're absolutely right, Thomas. It's those shifts. It's the barometric pressure shift. It is the weather shift. It's the temperature shift. It's the varying degrees. It's the moisture. It's the lack of moisture. It's absolutely. There's no doubt about it. That's where all of this is coming from. In my estimation, that's where this is, how people get sick in the winter. They say, put your hat on or you'll catch your death of cold. Well, yeah, you can get pneumonia if you catch a cold and you don't treat it. And how do you catch a cold? Well, you get a shiver, and it's shocking to the system. And if you don't know enough to take the aconitum, and perhaps aconitum with bryonia, then indeed it can cause trouble. So, my friends, I'm going to say Merry Christmas to all of you on Facebook and YouTube and Rumble and Instagram. And for my Mighties, stay on, and we'll switch over to just Mighties, and I'll answer more questions. Love you all. God bless you. Merry Christmas. Okay, are you taking it from here? Thank you. Okay, I can carry on, right? All right. Hello, Mighties. Great to see you. Merry Christmas. You're welcome, Alice. You're welcome. Merry Christmas.